It only works for children.
Yeah, Power Word Kill is a great name, right? But it's kind of boring in play. So you're dead. Okay, well that ended that guy's possibilities as a game.
I'd pay a lot of money to have Power Word Kill.
Well, sure, in real life.
In traffic.
Yeah.
And
But-
46 minutes.
That's right. Flash.
This is why I say in game terms reality is broken.
But we have like Power Word Nauseate. Come on with me.
Brown note.
I think that's the opposite effect that you're shooting for in that sense. Yeah. So Magic is getting an overhaul in that regard. So Magic creation is hard because you look at it and say, well, not only are we asking them to do a ton of math and make a lot of logic jumps, but we're asking them to sort of do it inside our heads so that everything is balanced within the system. And without actually giving people a bunch of guidelines for what we did to change the spells, it becomes very, very difficult. So I suspect spell creation rules will probably not be a part of the system. I think that's probably too complicated to try an onus to put on the book.
Right.
Monster creation rules, on the other
Monster
hand,
creation
will
is
be,
all
yeah,
good.
will be great. And we may have a few other modular systems. We'll definitely have a few. We've talked about city creation rules. They probably won't go in the main book, but they'll go somewhere.
I'm liking dungeon creation rules.
Dungeon creation rules are probable.
Yep.
I like the idea of doing class building guides, but we have never really, it's not something we've ever really finalized. It's just something we talked about. It may never happen, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, this would be kind of cool. So maybe. We'll see.
Just make sure you give it to the worst rules lawyer you know to test out.
I'm one of the worst rules lawyers you know because I break things in text, which
Right.
yeah. But we would also
we
give it
know
to some
some we know
playtesters,
some
yeah.
horrible rules. They're really well.
Scott
Actually,
lives
I'm
with
sorry.
one.
They're really good.
Yeah.
Very very good.
Scott
What
lives,
they do.
Scott lives with a guy who asks benign questions, like, do you have this? And it's something like, are there bunnies in Fantasy Crafts? And Scott will be like, yes. Why? And it's because he'll come up with some evil plan to overpopulate the world with bunnies or something. He's insane. But a brilliant playtester. Okay, what other questions have we got? Yep.
Are you guys thinking about going into actual novel publishing?
We are? Question mark? Yeah, we are. But it's,
We'll consider it.
yeah, it's still way tentative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some avenues for that may or may not be opening up in the future. We're always looking at new ways to do things, and hopefully some will come along that will allow for this, and we'll be able to.
Put stats for all the PCs in the back of all your novels.
That would be neat. We could do that. Yeah, if we did novels. Yeah.
Yeah, novellas.
How many people in this room would actually buy a novel if we wrote one?
I would have had stats.
I would have had stats. Okay, I'm curious. How many people would buy it if it didn't have stats?
Oh, how
Wow,
nice.
that's
God.
really sweet of you. I think
I
we're
don't
all
believe you.
lying, but how many people would buy it if it did have stats?
Oh, everybody's like, oh, extra stuff.
Yeah, less would buy it if it had stats. Did you notice that? I think they're just intimidated.
PC or NPC?
Yeah.
I still want to see the system that Scott said he had that would let you pull the stats off a Spycraft card game card turned into a...
Oh,
Yeah, you know, he's got so many of these little, like, it's like mad scribblings, right? You know, I imagined his house before I actually went there the first time. It's like the apartment from Seven. Like
Yeah.
these little journals all along, you know, like pasted together. I thought of an idea today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't seen his basement, so
It's
maybe.
true. Who knows what's down there?
Yeah.
Who's down there?
You're
We
a fan,
must
you
not.
keep a section in your bookshelf for your favorite writers. You're a stalker, you keep this place in your basement for your favorite writers.
Wow. Now I'm not writing a novel.
Right.
It's certainly
I've
not
seen
a
Misery.
good one.
I've seen Misery. That's right.
I'm gonna write the worst novel ever. I like mine.
Harlequin romance craft.
That's right. With stats.
I thought you weren't announcing any new products.
Not buying that either.
What else you got?
Shoot.
Is there meta magic in Fantasy Craft, or how do you handle that? Or
Yeah, Metamagic exists as feats. We have a. If you've seen channel work before, Okay, well, there's meta magic in there. It works like tricks in combat if you have practice makes perfect, or you've seen the melee combat.
Actually, if you look
combat
at
feats.
the back section of the combat chapter in this.
And so they're basically just modifiers. You know, you pay, because we use a skill-based magic system, which involves spell points. So you pay your points, roll, yeah. And so you keep casting, and 0 level spells, as long as you can make DC 13, rip them off all day long.
Yep.
We like cantrips a lot.
Oh yeah, one of the things that we had a freelancer write the adventure for this one. Oh.
So yes, generally like a melee combat feat. When you buy it, you get 2 tricks. Generally one that empowers in a lot of ways, and then another one that allows you to lower the level of the spell, so you can reduce its cost and its DC by taking away effects. So for instance, empower, you know, the old SRD one, you know, it's this typical, you bump it up 2 levels to go ahead and cast increase your numerical effects by 50%. I've been using this one a lot lately. And then, or you can hobble it so to lower its area and its effects to lower it by a level. So it's good when you start to run low on magic points. You can kind of control the vertical using those. And those also help the DC saves against spells. So.
And there is no spell memorization.
No. Write it down. Got it. You're done. Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Have to hug it out.
It's a tiger cage. No hugging in tiger cage. We had a freelancer produce an adventure to demo this weekend with Fantasy Craft, and one of the things he wanted to highlight, he set the entire adventure in one night, and it's interesting because when he was outlining that, he didn't explain it to me, but later he said, well, the reason I wanted to do that is because in Fantasy Craft, your spells are limited by scene. They're not limited by day. You don't have to memorize them. And so I wanted to showcase the fact that you could have an adventure where your characters use the same spells and rememorize spells several times in one night, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We love that freelancer. It's very cool.
Very good.
I can tell you the players were happy when scene 2 happened.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt.
I've used my last spell point. Oh, will there be an equivalent of a refresh action for magic points?
One of the classes can actually spend and roll an action die to gain.
Because that was a question that came out from my players was, will there be?
One of the
I suspect there won't be an action. That's probably too much.
No, but the character in that could spend and roll action dice to gain spell points back once it's in.
I was thinking that, or maybe having a roll, if you succeed, you get back the, but it's a roll to get it back.
Maybe. I mean, there's a point where you start asking yourself whether you're you're adding too many layers of detail. And you know, it's.
My other point of view was, well, you've got a 0 level zappy. You don't need your character to use that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, is it worth having this whole action just so you can recover 1 point? And it's.
Right.
The mage in that adventure could go get back.
Right.
Yeah. So that's actually the mage's core ability, which
Yeah.
is really handy for the mage. Who tends to burn through spell points pretty quick. But yeah, that's why we gave that mage a 0 level zappy. It's very convenient just to like knock people out with that little cold spell on occasion.
Right.
So very handy.
Anything else?
You can ask us anything.
Seriously. Except when
Psionics?
something's coming out.
What's that?
Psionics?
Psionics?
I thought I read somewhere you guys were eventually planning on a PDF.
Yeah, we talked about that last
Yeah. Well, one thing has changed. We will probably do a Psionics toolkit well before we re-release Shadow Force Archer.
Yeah.
What, Shadow Force Archer?
How far
it's
that
coming
in the
back.
future?
It's coming back.
He was pining
Out of my
after
cold,
that.
dead hand.
Your
No, it will come back. It's going to come back in a different form. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. But we've been talking a lot, and a lot of the rule sets that people want are sort of locked into various settings. Like Cyberpunk is the cybernetics rules are locked.